Hopefully some people will join in and we'll go from there. But thank you for everybody that's joining us. My name is Randy Estes, and I am the President and Western Regional Manager for Valve Accessories and Controls. Thank you for joining our first ever Zoom meeting. We've decided to change it up a little bit today because we wanted to have a little bit more interaction with you guys. So as we go along today, if you have a question, feel free to unmute your mic and ask the question, and we'll address that question as it comes up. Also, feel free, there's a chat function inside Zoom as well. Feel free to use that as well. And we want to just answer any of your questions that come up. And if you have questions after this, please call us, please call our office, call Bob, call myself, and let us answer your questions. So today we're going to talk about retrofit, and Bob Goodwin is in our office in Chelsea, and he's going to walk through a lot of different applications that we have there. And I'm just going to talk about really briefly, before I get into retrofit, the history of valve accessories and controls. Our Valve Accessories and Controls was opened in 2001 by our owner, Wayne Fleming and Cheryl Sneed in Chelsea, Alabama. They started with the V100 series and then later added the V200 series. Those are all analog products, all coming out of Germany, out of Sweden. Then we added the digital line, the D400 and D500. Those units come out of Germany. Sorry, I'm getting Sweden and Germany mixed up. VAC is a positioner-only company. So we want to help you with what works best for your particular application. Our mission is to provide a superior product and exceptional service, support, and delivery. So many times when we're out at end users, we run into customers that are being forced to buy digital products that are very expensive, and they're not even using half the capabilities that they're supposed to be. So many times we talk to these customers and say, hey, it's really simple. All you need is an analog product that costs a quarter of what you're paying for that Fisher, Mason, Nealon, Valtech positioner. So, and also those big companies are forcing into digital by saying those analog products are out of date. It's going to take forever for you to get. The lead times are going to be long, and you're going to pay, hey customer, you're going to pay just as much for that analog product as you will digital. With Valve Accessories and Controls, we're going to take a look at every option that you have for that application and give you what we think would be the best solution for that application. So that leads us right into what retrofit is. And retrofit, by definition, is when we go out into the field, we want to replace an OEM positioner. When we go into the field, when we walk into those plants, we're going to walk by so many more automated and valve packages we're ever going to sell in our life. So think of the potential that's there when you go into those end users. Take a look around. Take a note of what positioners they're using, and then start asking questions. Are you happy with that supplier? Are those positioners causing you problems? So many times when you ask that right question, all of a sudden, you have the dialogue about what they're using and what their potential is. So remember, when we get into this, when we start talking about retrofit, we were truly leading down the road of standardization in a plant. So one positioner, one VAC product for all their applications, be it rotary or linear. So then it even leads to the greatest thing of all, and that is stock room orders. So now we've got a stock room order. So you pick up the phone and call the office, and they said, guess what? We got a stock order today from Oxy, and you didn't even talk to anybody. It just came in. So how do we get to retrofit? And meaning, in other words, how do we mount to those OEM valve packages that are in the field? We have established a mounting kit list that is extensive, that covers linear and rotary actuators. And so the idea is when you place an order for those mounting kits, you're going to have all the product and hardware that you need. So when you go out to that valve application or that control valve, everything you need is in that box besides the tubing. And just to note, most of our hardware is made out of stainless steel. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to take a look. We're going to do a screen share of our mounting kit list. And we're going to take a look at an air tour. And you can see really quickly that if you scroll down a little bit, that it's broken up by actuator manufacturer, model, and size number. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Air Torque PT350. And you can see that it is a mounting kit number 350011. And then the D1 over there, the D1 represents the spindle, and the spindle is what comes out of the back of the positioner. This is what engages into the actuator. You have to order the spindle with the positioner, okay? So if you, for example, have a positioner in stock that has a different spindle than a D1, you can order the D1 and they simply pop in and out of place. No problem at all. With the V100 and V200, it is the same spindle and it just takes 2 screwdrivers to pop it out. And then with the digital D400 and D500 series, it's a spindle that goes on the back of the shaft of the actuator of the positioner. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at one other application, and that is we're going to look at the Fisher 1052 size 20. Fishers are big, you know, you can't walk into a plant and not see a Fisher valve and actuator combination. So Fisher's a big target for us. So if we look at 1051's 52 size 20, we see that it's part number 350066, and it requires a D1 spindle. Now, D1 spindle is our Namor spindle. It is our most common spindle. If you flip through this list, you're going to see a large majority of our mounting kits require a D1 spindle. The second most common spindle in all of our applications is what is called the D4 spindle, and it's a circular spindle, and that is what we use on most of our linear applications. And so Mr. Goodwin in our office in Chelsea, Alabama is now going to discuss linear applications and theories, and feel free to ask questions.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate everybody taking the time and being with us today. So we're going to talk a little bit about linear valves in specific, but retrofit in general, and I have a variety of valves back here to show you. All of our back positioners, every product we sell, the 100 to 200 digital products can be mounted on linear valves as well as rotary valves. They're rotary by nature. They have a shaft in the back, okay, that, you know, the positioner operates on a rotary motion principle, but they can all be used with a linear arm like this. This happens to be a knife gate arm. These are a wire arm, adjustable for length. Another type of arm is this one here, which is a stainless steel arm for a pin and fork or a turnbuckle arrangement. This is what you would use on larger Fisher valves like this. We offer this arm in a variety of lengths as well. And this is what changes the linear rotary motion, which it pivots here, to a linear motion by the arm moving that way. We can handle strokes from 1/2 inch to 24 inches off the shelf with parts that we stock here in Chelsea. On digital products, we can go as short as 1/8 of an inch, although that's a little bit of a specialized thing, and we'd like to talk to you about that application before you actually sell it. We'd like to talk to you during the quote process to make sure you get all the components you need. When we're talking about linear valves, they can be globe valves like these. It can be a diaphragm valve. This is an actuator for a diaphragm style valve. They can be knife gate valves like this. These all operate on a linear motion of the stem of the valve. While most rotary valves operate in a 90-degree range of rotation regardless of the pipe size, linear valves have a wide variety of stroke lengths. So a knife gate valve like this, typically the stroke length is the same as the pipe size. So a 4-inch valve is going to stroke 4 inches. But on a globe valve like this, the stroke length may change dramatically with the change in valve size. So, you know, this is a 1-inch valve here. This strokes a little less than 1 inch. This is a inch and also 1-inch valve as well, and it only strokes 15 millimeters, about 1/2 inch. So we need to know what that stroke length is, and pipe size doesn't necessarily tell us that. So we're going to ask you what the stroke length of the valve is, unless you can give us detailed model information that maybe we already have that information. Again, it's the sort of thing we need to actually have a little conversation about. We have mounting kits for most common linear control valves that you're going to run across. Occasionally we will come across something that is a little unusual, but you know, when you call us or talk to us and want to get a mounting kit for a linear valve, we're going to ask you, the first question is going to be, what is the stroke length of the valve? That lets us recommend the correct cam for the positioner if it's a V100 or 200, the right arm, the length of arm, whether it's a long arm like this or a short arm, and potentially the scale on the positioner as well, so you have correct indication. If we don't have a kit, if it's a valve we've never done before or a brand new valve to the market or something like that, it gets a little bit more complicated, but not much. Again, we need to know the stroke length. We're also going to ask you the stem connection, which is how the takeoff pin is going to connect to the stem of the valve. Usually photographs really help that way. Lots of photographs. With this information, valve actuator manufacturer, stem connection, and stroke length, and a couple of photographs, we can help you select the right kit. Many times we have a kit that's close enough that with only 1 or 2 small parts changes, it'll work just fine. This kit that here is on Samson 241 globe valve will fit 30 or 40 different valve types with only a change in the stem connection pieces. The kit that's on this Fisher valve will fit another 10 or 15 different brands, Honeywell, the old Hamel-Dahl stuff, Mason Neal and CCI, Cokes, all of those brand names use a very, very standardized mounting pattern, and that kit will fit all of those valves, usually without any additional parts, but sometimes with just a change in a bolt or two. So that's the information that we need to know when we're doing this. When we get asked a new application, something we've never seen before, and it's difficult to get everything we need to know, I'm going to use this stainless diaphragm over here as an example. This is an actuator that was sent to us by a customer in order to develop a mounting kit for it. It's kind of unusual the way the positioner mounts on top, and all the little takeoff pieces that drive the positioner from the stem of the actuator had to be fabricated and drawn and manufactured for this specific application. One of the good things about doing it this way is the first time you send us one of these, we're going to engineer and produce the mounting kit, and then there's going to be photographic mounting instructions that you will get with the mounting kit, and everybody else that might ever want to mount on it will get those photo instructions. It makes life a lot easier. As an added bonus, that first positioner will come back to you mounted, calibrated, and ready to go. So this is one that ultimately is going to be going out here in a short period of time to ship back to the distributor that sent it into us. When we talk about retrofit, that's really replacing an existing positioner. Retrofitting a VAC positioner to replace an obsolete, expensive, long lead time competitor's product. Okay, and mounting it just as if it was a new assembly. All the same processes for looking at the mounting kit are the same whether it's a new assembly that you're building in your shop or it's retrofitting in the field. It's just where the positioner gets installed. Are you doing it in your shop, or is the end user doing it in the field? Maybe you have service personnel that do it in the field. The advantages of VAC positions can be applied to the existing applications that you sell every day and all the retrofit stuff. And those savings include VAC's low installed cost. So with 100 and 200 positioners, their easy repairability and modular design allows the storeroom to stock a basic positioner and then maybe an explosion-proof IDP or some feedback or things like that they can add to fit the applications needed in different parts of the plant. The reliability of one positioner, okay, that can be repaired while mounted on the valve. These positioners can be repaired in place instead of taking them off and throwing them away and installing a new one. You don't have to break all the tubing and the electrical connections and that sort of thing. You can repair it in place. That can save a ton of time in a plant. Replacing a positioner may take an hour and a half to 2 hours. Repairing a V100 or 200 in place can take as little as 10 minutes, typically less than half an hour. That commonality of positioner across a broad range of valve types. So if you're selling primarily ball valves and butterfly valves, but you get a project where there's some globe valves, If you can offer them the same positioner on all of their rotary stuff and their linear stuff, now the spares package they need to buy for that project is reduced. The maintenance people are all trained on the same product. Their skill at reducing downtime and repairing the product fast goes up. That's the savings for your customer. Something to talk to them about. We're going to go through a few photographs here now. We're going to screen share some pictures here. So this is an example right now of this valve right here is a Mason Allen Camflex on the left. 60-degree rotation rotary globe valve replacement. Very, very common valve. This one has a B200 mounted on it. On the right-hand side is a James Bray Quadra Power. Again, with a B200 mounted on it. You'll find a lot of the old Nellis James Bray valves with, like NE series and NP series positioners that, the lead times are very long now. They don't really want to sell them. They're expensive. Typically, you can mount something like a B100 or 200 on it for about a 50% reduction in cost. Can you change the slide for me, Carly? I'm not able to change it for some reason. There we go. So in this case, on the left-hand side, we've got an Armstrong globe valve. This was one where we didn't have a kit specifically for this valve, but we were able to make an adjustment to a kit we had and deliver this next day to the customer to satisfy the need. On the right is a Fisher valve that is at a chemical plant in the southern Mississippi area. This plant is converting from obsolete Eckert positioners that are no longer available, or Foxconn communication, to our digital products, both D400s and 500s, and they're mounting on every type of valve you could possibly imagine. Everything from rack and pinion actuators on ball valves to Fisher and Valtech and other brands of globe valves. This slide shows some Type K or K-torque vane actuators, some Triac rack and pinions with D400s on it are in the center. On the right is a series of kind of oddball knife gate installations with a cylinder where the valve is actually below the floor, and these have hand wheel overrides. And the positioner was mounted above the cylinder because there's a stem extension that allowed it to be done that way. Lower left is a Jordan sliding gate valve, a very, very small stroke. That valve is like an 1/8-inch stroke. And the one on the right is a B200 mounted on an all plastic valve in a clay mine. Here's another selection of Honeywell globe, Fisher globe, a Way knife gate valve. This one here happens to be an Orbinox knife gate valve that I have on the table here. A red valve pinch valve. It doesn't matter whose valve it is or what type or configuration it is. Let's talk about it. We rarely find ourselves in a situation where we can't mount a positioner on somebody else's valve. Two kind of interesting ones. The one on the left is a damper drive that uses a matrix vane actuator. And on the right, that's actually an axial vane damper. Kind of looks like a jet engine on the end of it. And the positioner is controlling the vane location by a cable that is routed up through the housing of the damper to an arm on the positioner. That was all custom fabricated by our distributor. But that's, how crazy you can go if you need to. A little Baumann globe valve with a B100, a little Collins all plastic valve, another Jordan. Look at how large that D400 positioner is on that Jordan valve. That's positively a tiny valve with a positioner on it. It's not something that's impossible to do. Some more showing some implant stuff. The left-hand side is a big linear valve. And you can tell that valve has been there a while. But the V100 on it and the mounting kit looks all brand new. This is a case where the positioner was obsolete. You could not get a replacement positioner. We were able to offer them a solution. The next one, the green valve, is a Fisher. The orange actuator is 180-degree rotation on a 3-way plug valve. It also happens to be fail-freeze, electrically, fail-in-place pneumatically, intrinsically safe, and still 2 rated. And the one on the upper right is a Fisher angle body that used an end-mounted positioner mounted on top of the cylinder actuator, and the cost of the positioner was prohibitive. Fisher still makes it, but the cost was somewhere around 4 times the cost of a V100. The plant already had V100s in it on other applications, and in this case, putting a V100 on here made a lot of sense to me. These photos are from a little alcohol recovery facility. They actually recycle mouthwash. These are Hobnums that have V200s mounted on them. The plant on the left, in this case, is an air gas cryo plant on a facility next to a chemical processing facility. And you've got something going on there, Carly. And this was a place where I was going to do a field service call, and they wanted to see if we could mount our positioner on a valve they had in their facility. And as I pulled into the parking lot, there's V200s already there mounted on cryogenic valves. The right-hand picture is the basement of a wastewater treatment facility, and there's 18, oh, back up. There's 8, yeah, the right-hand slide is 18 24-inch Desert butterfly valves, all that had V200s retrofitted on them. They originally had really old PMV positioners that are long obsolete. This is a very interesting photo because you can see the V200 in the foreground mounted on the Hobnum actuator, and immediately above it is a high torque. That yellow actuator is a high torque, and it has a VRC positioner currently mounted on it. And to the right of that is a PMV positioner, an Automax positioner mounted on a rack and pinion. And then just above and to the left of that V200 is a VRC mounted on a Bray actuator. So this is what you'll find in a plant is you'll go into a place and you'll see several control valves all located next to each other. In this case, there's 3 different positioners all within a couple of feet of each other. And the plant really likes the V200, so they're slowly going to switch those other positioners to ours as they fail. In this case here, we've got a Fisher valve that was retrofitted. And then on the right, we have a training class that I put on at an end user that wanted to learn how to actually do retrofit in their shop. So we went in, brought positioners, mounting kits. They had a valve that they had sitting on the shop floor that they wanted to learn how to mount to. And we put, I think, 6 guys mounted and calibrated that positioner, and we took it back off and did it again and again and again. All 6 guys were comfortable with it by the time we were done. So Randy can come and do this for you. I'll do it for you. We can have Scott can do it for you. So wherever you are, if you want to get, the customer says, I'd be interested in retrofit, but we really don't know how to do it. Not a problem. We can teach you. The left-hand photograph here is a knife gate valve at a clay mine. Really nasty application that originally had a very expensive LVDT transducer-driven digital positioner on it, and a simple V200 replaced it very easily. On the right is a waste treatment plant in Washington, D.C. You can see there's a lot of Siemens positioners there with one V200 in the foreground. They were slowly replacing those Siemens positioners as they failed with V200s because they have a hard time controlling the water in their air supply. And the V200 is much more tolerant of poor air quality. Another one, this is a before and after sort of. On the left, you'll see a Worcester valve with a Pulsar 3 on it, or Pulsar 2. It's a good positioner, it's expensive, but they don't use any of the digital information. They don't need any of that functionality. On the right is the same application, just about 50 feet away from the valve that's on the left with a V200 mounted on it. And they can repair a V200 for an average cost of less than $400. the digital positioners that we're having to send out at an average cost of about $1,000, and they would get them back with a 90-day warranty. This slide here shows a crazy application with a damper. Distributor we've got is really good at on-site fabrication, figured out how to mount a D400 on this crazy cylinder damper drive. In place, on-site. We supplied a lever arm and a few other bits and pieces, and he did the rest. On the right is a Worcester where we replaced an old PMV positioner in that particular case. Here we have a before and after on the left-hand side. Those are Jordan valves. You can see that on the left, that Jordan valve doesn't even have a positioner. They're running it straight with an I to P. To get better performance, they mounted a V200 on it, and now they can run that actuator with much more air pressure and get a much more responsive and better control out of the valve. So sometimes you're not even replacing a positioner. You're taking them from the obsolete technology of running a valve direct 3 to 15 on a globe style valve to using a positioner to make the valve more accurate. On the right-hand side, we have a before and after of a Kinetrol actuator that has a positioner with a stacked limit switch mounted on top. The VAC solution is a B200 with internal switches and feedback. It's a more compact package, lower cost, and easier for them to maintain. A couple of Honeywell valves. You look at the difference in how complicated the Honeywell installation is on the left, and the V200 installation is much simpler on the right. That's just simply how much more developed have positioners gotten since Honeywell designed that box on the left-hand side. And again, the Honeywell positioner is not readily available now. That, you can buy them on eBay and things like that. You don't know what you're getting. This customer is buying V200s and they know exactly what they're getting, and they're getting good service from VAC and our stocking distributors that help them keep their plant up and running. And this will be the last slide, guys. This is an easy torque vane actuator with a built-in air reservoir for fail-safe. With a little tiny, that V200 on top looks tiny because that actuator is positively massive. It's on a big plug valve. I don't care what size valve it is. In this case, we can offer things like a high gain or a super high airflow pilot valve and avoid things like boosters and that sort of thing, even when you get into large valves like this, and run the positioner in the valve with off-the-shelf, easy-use components that are available to everybody. And now I'd like to open it up. Anybody got questions? It's been pretty quiet. Nobody's had anything to say. So
I want to add one thing, and that is when we're talking about retrofit and we're selling these guys, we're selling them new mounting kits and new positioners. One thing that we want to stress, guys, is coalescing filter regulators. That eliminates so many issues when you sell into the field. Our competitors, Fisher, Mason, Neal, and Valtech, when they're selling complete valve packages, the customers aren't getting a choice. It's coming with it. So please, 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 always quote and require a filter regulator.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Now I'm seeing some names of the participants that should recognize some of the pictures that were in the presentation because they helped sell those. But there are other people in the list that I don't recognize that from selling retrofit applications. So,
And Wayne took a lot of those pictures too. Wayne, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, just one thing, piggybacking on what you just said about the coalescing filters. When you do retrofit and you get better and better at it, I mean, it's like anything else. It's a learned process. The first one's always tough. The second one gets easier, and then down the road. But you get to the point where you sell a positioner, a mounting kit, a backpack, which is a coalescing filter, and a gauge set, and maybe flexible tubing to go with the package. You've already you know what the actuator is. You know what kind of tubing they need, so you include stainless steel flexible tubing. Your margins multiply tremendously when you do things that way, to the point that you're making extremely good profit on a retrofit box or a retrofit kit. So yes, Randy talked about walking past more positioners than you'll ever sell in your life. I've said that so many times, it echoes in my mind, but it is a tremendous market that people don't really realize and don't grasp. So
I want to copyright that saying. That is a Wayne Fleming saying.
That saying may have something to do with me working at VAC. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the table here, we've got a variety of stuff. We've got ball valves, rotary globe valves, V-balls, knife gates, you know, the globe valves, you know, vane actuator, diaphragm. What are you guys, you know, what are you guys seeing? Are there applications that you guys are running into that you think this is a place that it makes sense for us to, maybe right now in the current circumstances, making in-person visits is a little premature, but we can start having a conversation with an end user about this?
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I mean, if there's any interest in doing a, you know, how do we mount to a Fisher 1051, 657, you know, go through how we actually mount it. I don't know if that interests people or not. We're just trying to gauge. And also, you know, is this Zoom feature better? We're going to take this recording and we're going to post it on YouTube, but it's easier for us because then we could share slides and stuff like that. But we're hoping that everybody would talk and ask questions. So,
and you know, you can see from the variety of valves we have here, and this isn't even everything that we have here in Chelsea. We may be able to do a dedicated, you know, video training session for your end user to help them feel more comfortable with the idea of retrofit. So, you know, I pick on the big green weenie guy here, okay, but, you know, being able to actually show somebody that you can mount a positioner on this and how easy it is and how to get it calibrated and that sort of thing is something that makes the customer much, much more comfortable. I have been known to throw this in my truck and carry it to a plant. Well, maybe not throw it. Lift it gently. So,
all right, guys, does anybody have any questions before we end the meeting?
Going once?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks.
Great job, Bob. Good job. Randy, thank y'all. Good job.
Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks, guys.